Now, this little show that we do here on the YouTube went against the grain last election cycle and told people some things that they did not want to hear. That for one, that Trump wasn't the problem. He was a symptom of the problem. Neoliberalism and corporatism inside the Democratic Party is the problem. And that if Hillary Clinton got elected, it would get way worse before it ever got better. And if Donald Trump got elected, there was a good chance that he couldn't get his agenda passed because he would split the Republican Party. It turns out a lot of that's happening, and the only time Trump can get stuff passed is when the Democrats join him. The Democrats joined him when they passed an extra $700 billion on the military with no debate, no town halls, no meetings, no Sunday chats, no nothing. The Democrats joined Trump in passing an extra $80 billion a year for the military. That's it. That could have wiped out all the student debt. That could have sent everybody to college for free. That stuff, I guess, is crazy. Ask John Oliver. He'll tell you it's crazy. You can't wipe out student debt. Although we can spend $700 billion on bombs we don't need. Like that without discussing it. So the reason why I brought this up, is because it is happening. Trump is splitting the Republican Party. And the Democrats' task is to now stick Trump to the Republicans in 2018, which they won't be able to do because they're shitty politicians, because they're paid to lose. And so now what's happening is the New York Times. Trump's fight with Corker jeopardizes his legislative agenda. They already couldn't repeal Obamacare or pass their own health care plan. They already can't do that. The biggest thing in the world, the thing he would say would happen real fast, couldn't do it. Trump couldn't do it. And the Republicans couldn't do it. So that fell. The big legislative prize couldn't get done. And the only time they can get horrible stuff done, it seems, is when the Democrats join them with their Mick resistance. This is from the New York Times. It's about the feud between Corker and Trump. The feud broke out in public last week when Mr. Corker said that Mr. Trump's advisors were guarding against chaos. The president retaliated on Sunday by saying the retiring senator didn't have the guts to run for another term. Mr. Corker responded on Twitter an hour later saying the White House had become an adult daycare center. He then unloaded in an interview with the New York Times saying in public what many of his Republican colleagues say in private, that the president is dangerously erratic, treats his high office like a reality show, has to be contained by his staff, and is reckless enough to put the country on the path to World War III. So what I said is happening. He's having a hard time keeping a Republican coalition together. And this sets the stage for the left to take back over government. So Trump being president, the silver lining is that it makes it much quicker for a progressive takeover of government than if Hillary Clinton was president. And people didn't want to hear that, Ron. You know that, right?
Yeah.
People still don't want to hear. People still go, oh, how's that working out for you? They didn't repeal Obamacare. His Muslim ban keeps getting turned over. By the way, Barack Obama bombed those people and turned them into refugees. Trump just banned them at the airport. What did Obama have to do? Bomb Muslims at the airport for you to be mad at him? So, again, this is coming true for what we said.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that? So people still go, oh, see, Jimmy Dore, I didn't want Trump as a president. And people like to say that because they don't want to hear what you actually have to say because it debunks their bullshit. And what we actually had to say is that, no, I don't want Trump president. I wanted Jill Stein to be president. I wanted Bernie Sanders, then I wanted Jill Stein. Anybody but those two. Anybody but those two. So I didn't want that. But we did point out on this show that a Hillary Clinton president would delay the takeover of government by the left by at least 8 years. And things will get way worse. And the only legislation she would pass is stuff the Republicans wanted to pass anyway.
Yeah, when you live in a country where a demagogue's inevitable anyway, you have two
Yes.
parties that have the same owners, so a demagogue will inevitably happen. I say, give me an incompetent one now.
Yes.
than a potentially competent one later.
That's exactly right, Ron.
I don't think it's rocket science.
Right?
Like, it
This-
really
but Ron,
isn't.
Ron, you're on this show. You see how people push back against that simple idea.
Oh, I have conversations with people in my daily life that it's like they'll just go on a rant about how terrible Trump is. I'm like, yeah. They're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah. And then they're
Yep.
just like, I'm like, so what's your point? We don't disagree that Trump's a moron, but I mean, what's your point?
Right. We can all agree that Trump is a bad president and destructive, without then saying, well, the alternative is to prop up a corporatist who's going to do basically the same shit. That's not the alternative. Okay. So this is, I love what they say, what many Republicans say in private. Mr. McConnell's associates were blunter in expressing their leadership's frustration with the president, President Trump, for disrupting party unity as Republicans push for tax cuts. This was going to be hard no matter what, said Bill Piper, Mr. McConnell's former chief of staff, and he took the guy who was one of the linchpins of this and incinerated him for no reason. That's what Trump's doing. The White House spent Monday telling allies that Mr. Corker was responsible for the fight, not Mr. Trump, and that the senator was an attention-seeking obstructionist. I know you are, but what am I? Mr. Trump has grown frustrated by Senate Republicans. So get this, including lashing out at Mr. McConnell for not getting the job done, as legislation to repeal Barack Obama's health care program has been repeatedly blocked. He has engaged in open conflicts with Senators John McCain, Jeff Flake, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, among others. Senator David Perdue of Georgia, another member of the 2014 class, has been even more outspoken in venting about fellow Republicans derailing health care legislation. So it's the Republicans fighting each other, just like we predicted.
Yeah. And let me say something. I used to live in Tennessee, all right, which is where Bob Corker serves. That is the Republican hub of the Republican hub of Coke money. I mean, it is corruption, old good old boy GOP to the nth degree. So for this guy to tell you you're ridiculous, holy shit.
Ha! Ha! People are very upset that Republican senators are not backing the agenda of the president. So here's a guy who's backing the president, is mad at angry at the other Republicans. Mr. Trump's former chief strategist, Stephen K. Bannon, acting in what he says is the president's interest, is organizing a rebellion against the Republican establishment and recruiting candidates to challenge incumbent senators in primaries next year. This is what they think about President Trump behind closed doors, Mr. Bannon said on Fox News on Monday night, referring to Mr. Corker's comments and calling on the senator to resign. Mr. Pence's chief of staff has talked about a purge of Republicans who are not loyal to Mr. Trump. Here it is. So whether it happens or not, we weren't crazy to say that this was a likely outcome. Why? So again, people who on the left, this last election, you were only allowed one opinion, and if you had a different opinion, you were a bad person. You're someone they would call you every name in the. You're Alex Jones. You're this. You're that. You're a petulant child. You're a moron. You don't know what's going on in politics. You don't know, and that's what. Here it is. Here it is. So. This is interesting. I think it's only going to get worse for the president from here. What do you think? What do you both think?
I think we need to impeach him and get a competent villain like Mike Pence behind the White House. That'll make things better.
I like his hair better.
That'll be somebody once told me like when I was like, why would you want someone competent like Mike Pence instead of someone incompetent like Donald Trump when they're both equal psychopaths? And they're like, well, Pence is an enemy that we're used to, like a George W. Bush. Yeah, remember how the Democrats did against him?
Yeah, remember how that worked
even
out?
when they took over, George Bush still got everything he wanted. Remember how they did against him? That's great plan. Great plan.
I think it's interesting where they said, I think there's a quote somewhere that just said they're obstructionists. I think that's really what Republicans are when they're governing. They don't
obstructing
want
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't want to get anything done. They don't want to show that government can work for the people.
No, they want to show that government can work for corporations and the money to leak. That's what their tax plan was. That's what their health care plan was. Their health care was a giveaway to rich people. Their tax plan's a giveaway to rich people. Their military budget's a giveaway to more rich people. The Democrats go along with them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Democrats are better. They're all corrupted.
And who else did the Republicans think would be a better choice for all those people that were running for president? Who out of those, 15, 20, 35 Republicans was more fit for this office?
Right. Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, it again, the people who are attacking us for saying that this would happen, I don't understand why anyone watches their shows. Portland, Oregon, the Jimmy Dore Show is coming to the Alberta Rose Theater November 12th, and we're going to Burbank, California, November 6th, and the Hollywood Improv on October 16th. There's a link for tickets right down there. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for all links for all shows.